How can you get a visa to live and work in the US lawfully, even if you don't have a family member sponsor, even if you don't have a business sponsor, and even if you don't have $1 million to invest? That's what we're here to talk about today, because the E-2 investor visa can give you that opportunity to be your own sponsor and to live and work lawfully in the US with your family while you run your US-based business. I'm immigration attorney Kalani Hawks Villafranca. I have helped my clients get E-2 investor visas, and I'm here today to explain to you what is required if you also want to get an E-2 investor visa to live and work lawfully in the US. So first, let's talk about the benefits of the E-2 investor visa. The E-2 visa gives you a work permit to live in the United States and run your US-based business. And that's you, the investor. But it's also hugely beneficial for your family. If you are married, your spouse will get their own work permit that's not connected to the E-2 business. That means that your spouse can live and work in the US unrestricted while you're lawfully in the US running your business, which is great because there are some work visas that are very restrictive for spouses. Either they cannot get a work visa or their work visa is pretty restricted. The E-2 spousal visa is fantastic because it gives your spouse an unrestricted work visa, which is fantastic for families where both parents want to continue to pursue their careers. And talking about families, the E-2 investor visa is great for kids too, because if you're in the US on an E-2 visa, your kids can go to public school or any other school in the US. It's important to remember and to know that if you and your kids are in the US on a visitor visa, whether that's a B1 for business or a B2 for tourist purposes, neither of those visa statuses, B1 or B2 for kids, give your kids the right to go to school in the US in the public school system. And if they do, that's a violation of their status and can really cause them problems in the future. So if you're really looking to live and work lawfully in the US with your family, it's important to keep in mind that you don't want your kids to be violating their status by going to public schools when their visa doesn't allow them to. So with an E-2 investor visa, your kids can go to school without having to worry about that. So now we've seen some of the benefits for families. I want to talk about the E-2 investor visa and how you get one. How can you know if you are eligible for an E-2 investor visa? So first, you have to have a US-based business, and it could be any kind of business. To have an E-2, you can either start your own business in the US, buy an existing business in the US, or open a franchise. Franchises can be really fantastic opportunities for E-2 investor visas because they come with a prepackaged business model. And so it can be easier to convince immigration of why your business exists and what it's going to do when it's already in existence and has been replicated and proven to be successful in the past. So keep that in mind. Franchises can often be really good E-2 business opportunities, but they don't have to be. There are a lot of different ways to get an E-2. As long as you have a US-based business, you're good. The first thing we have to show for you to get an E-2 investor visa is that your business is real and active. What that means is that your business can't be an idea that you're thinking about doing in the future if you get your visa. Your business has to already exist. So that either means you're up and running and you're serving customers and you're already doing stuff, or you're in the planning startup stages and you are imminently about to start services to the public. So you can't be at the place where you're just thinking about your business. You really have to have a real and active business that you can show immigration exists. Next, we have to prove that you have spent money on your US-based business and that the amount of money you have spent is considered substantial under the immigration legal standard. Now, what does that mean? That's the $1 million question, but you do not need $1 million to answer it. And that's the good and exciting part that you need to know. Many people think to get an investor visa, I have to invest $1 million or more. And that's simply not true. There is an investor green card. To get a green card as an investor, you have to invest close to $1 million or more, depending on where in the country you're investing. But that's not true for the E-2 investor visa. For the E-2 investor visa, you just have to show that you have invested enough money to legitimately open and run your US-based business. $100,000 is generally thought of as a safe amount of money to have invested. But actually, that's not necessarily true. You can invest a lot less or a lot more What we have to show is the amount of money you've invested is necessary and relevant to running your actual business. So if you're going to open a car manufacturing plant, you're going to need a whole lot more than $100,000 to get that off the ground. If you're going to open a consulting service that is all done virtually, you're probably going to need less than $100,000 to open your business and start successful operations. So the amount of money is not determined by any number. It's determined by your business and the amount of money that is legitimately needed for your business to get up and running. Now, say you buy an existing business, then the amount of money you invest needs to be pretty close to the actual sale price of that business. Or if you have two investors, you each need to have bought half of the total sale price of the business. So things to keep in mind. There's no set amount of money that you need to invest, but you do need to invest enough to prove to the satisfaction of immigration that the money you've invested has legitimately caused your business to function. So you have to have a real business and you have to have invested enough money to make it functional. You have to have gotten your money legally. You can get money legally in a lot of different ways, but we have to be able to show that you did. So either you earned it through salary, you earned it as profit on other businesses that you own, you got a gift, you took out a loan, as long as that loan is not secured by the E-2 business, it's secured by your personal assets, that's okay. But you can't have gotten it illegally, like through sales of drugs or illegal operations in some other way. That's obviously not okay. And we have to be able to prove, we have to show the chain of command of that money, right? The flow of money from the first time you got it to the time it was invested in the E-2 business. We have to show that you maintained lawful control of your money the whole time. So that's really important. Next, we have to show that your business either is profitable now or that you have a 5-year plan to move towards profitability for your E-2 business. How do we do that? Either if your business is already up and running and you have profits to show, we show tax returns or other profit and loss statements for your business. If you're opening a new business or buying a franchise, then you'll need a business plan specific to immigration that shows how much money you've invested, how many people you employ or are going to employ, and how your business is going to be profitable at the end of 5 years. And when immigration talks about profitability, what they mean is that your business will make a profit after you have paid the salary of all the employees, including the investors who work in the business. So if you are going to run the business yourself, and then you need to take a salary, and your salary needs to be counted as part of the business expense, and your business needs to be profitable above that. Because the whole point of an E-2 business is to support economic development in the United States. So the U.S. government is not going to give you an E-2 visa just to support yourself and your family. The E-2 business obviously is expected to make enough money to support the investor and his or her family, but it is also expected to generate profits above that and to put money back into the U.S. economy. And that's why the visa exists. So we have to be able to show that your business, in fact, will be successful to the point that there will be profits sufficient to put back into the U.S. economy to support employees to generate economic growth. So that's what we're going to be able to show for you. All right, what else? To get an E-2 visa, you have to show that you, as the investor, are prepared and able to direct and develop the business. So what does that mean? First, it means that you have an ownership interest sufficient to give you power over the company. So generally, almost always, as the investor, you have to own the majority stake in your company. So that means either you're the sole owner or you own more than 50%, or if there are two equal partners that you each own 50% and you each maintain complete rights to control the company. That is a concept called negative control in immigration law. Negative control means something slightly different for business purposes, but for immigration, negative control means there are two equal investors, two equal owners of a company, and each maintains full control and each has ability to completely bind the company. So you have to show that you have an ownership interest sufficient to give you power over the company and its future. And that is because the US government wants to know that you, in fact, have the ability to make this business successful. If you can't make the decisions, you can't do that. So that's one. Two, we have to show that your management position in the company gives you the ability to actually direct the day-to-day activities if you're going to work in the company. And then we have to show that the amount of money you have invested actually makes you invested in the future of the company. That's usually a pretty easy one to show. That's not the hard part of this point. So we have to show that you are prepared to develop and direct the U.S. business through your ownership interest, your management position, and the amount of money that you've invested. And last but not least, to get an E-2 visa, we have to show that you have no intention of staying unlawfully in the United States, but that you intend to return to your home country if and when your E-2 visa expires. Now, something super exciting about the E-2 visa is that you can renew your visa indefinitely as long as your business continues to function. So you can be in the US for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years on your E-2 visa, continuing to renew every time your visa expires, as long as your business continues to function. But you have to sign an affidavit and swear that if your E-2 business no longer exists and your visa expires for any reason, that you'll return to your home country instead of staying in the United States unlawfully. That's usually not a hard thing to get over, but it is an important part of the test, so I want you to know it exists. We prove your intent to depart the United States by showing your ties to your home country. If you maintain real estate, if you have businesses that will continue to function, your family ties, your community ties, that kind of thing. That's how we show that you have an intention to depart the United States. This requirement is a little confusing because you can stay in the United States for a really long time on your E-2 visa, and you're not lawfully required to have businesses abroad, to have real estate abroad. So often, all we'll have is just an affidavit of you swearing, yes, if my E-2 visa ends, I'm going to return. But it's important to know this is part of the E-2 visa test, and so you have to be able to satisfy that part of the test to get your E-2 visa. Okay, so to do a quick recap, for you to get an E-2 investor visa in the United States, you have to have a US-based business. You have to show that that business is real and active and not just an idea. You have to show that you've invested money that you got lawfully and that that money is sufficient and substantial to make the US business function. You have to show your business will either already is profitable or will be profitable at the end of 5 years. And that means profit above what is needed just to support you, the investor, and your family. You have to show that you're prepared and in a position to develop and direct that business towards profitability. And that if at any time your E-2 visa ends, that you have plans to leave the United States and return to your home country. If you can satisfy each of these tests, then you are eligible for an E-2 investor visa. And with that visa, can live and work in the US lawfully while you run your business. Your spouse can get an E-2 spousal visa to work anywhere in the United States that accepts lawful US work employment authorization. And your kids can go to school while you're here. So the E-2 investor visa is a phenomenal option for families because it puts you in control of your destiny in the United States. A lot of foreign nationals think, I would love to live and work in the United States, but I don't have a family sponsor, I don't have a business sponsor, I don't have an option to get there. And that's simply not true. With the E-2 investor visa, if you are interested in living and working in the United States while you run your business, then you can take control of your US immigration future. And you can make this happen. If you have questions, give us a call, 512-675-2945. We do 15-minute introductory phone calls for our E-2 investor clients, where you can meet with me for 15 minutes. I'll give you just a quick intro to our firm to see if we might be a good fit for your E-2 investor needs or other business immigration needs. And then from there, we can set up a full consultation to really evaluate your case and see if you're eligible, what the risks might be to your case, and how to go ahead and get started so you can move forward with your visa options in the US. It would be my pleasure to help you. I hope this has been helpful information today, and we'll see you next week.